All right, guys, so today we're talking about solving quadratic equations on the calculator. This is what we did in all of chapter 13 was solved quadratics. Today we're going to see how to do that on the calculator. So to see how it works, first we're going to solve a quadratic by factoring. So I've got x squared plus 5x minus 6 equals 0, and I want to find the solutions. So I'm going to use sum and product. So I have my s for sum, my p for product, so that we can use the swing method. To find the sum, and you use my b value, which is 5. The product is a times c, which is 1 times negative 6, which gives us negative 6. Now, if I break negative 6 down, I know 1 times 6 is 6, but one of them would have to be negative. So if I try negative 1 times 6 is 6, negative 1 plus 6 is 5. So those are what I want to use. I'm going to open up my parentheses and throw in my variable. I know it equals 0. Then I just throw my numbers in there, x minus 1, x plus 6. So now we have it factored. Now we can set each of those factors equal to 0 and solve. So x minus 1 equals 0, x plus 6 equals 0. So we can solve both those pretty easy. On one of them we can add 1 to both sides, we get x equals 1. The other one we can subtract 6 from each side and get x equals negative 6. So the solutions by factoring are x equals negative 6 and 1. Now, let's see if we can do that on our calculator. So go ahead and get out your calculator. Make sure that you pay attention. I mean, this is just instructions just like yesterday, but if you'll do it a couple of times the first time, it's going to make it a lot easier the next time. So I need to get you to get out your calculator. I need you to hit y equals, make sure everything's cleared out. If there's something on those lines, just hit clear. And what we're going to do is into y1, we're going to enter the equation. We're going to put x squared plus 5x minus 6. So in y1, we enter in that equation. In y2, we enter in the 0. So I'm going to bring up my calculator real quick. I'm going to push on. I'm in y equals. So in x1 or y1, I'm sorry, I put x squared plus 5x minus 6. Now, I want to be really careful here and check and make sure it's the same as what I have on my paper. It is. So I go down to y2 and I put in 0. Now I'm just going to look at the graph. There's our parabola. It looks like it should. Now the 0 doesn't really show up because it is actually just following the x-axis. So what it does is it makes it to where we have an intersection, which is actually what we're looking for. So how you find the actual intercepts is you're going to hit second trace. We're going to go back in that calculate menu. But this time we're going to choose 5, which is the intersect button. Now it's going to bring that cursor up on your screen. Let me move this over a little. The same thing we saw yesterday. Now what you want to do, and it doesn't matter which one you do first, I'm going to move over to the left. You want to move your cursor close to one of those intersections. Then all you have to do is slowly hit enter 3 times. Then it gives us our intercept. Our first intercept is negative 6, comma 0, which matches one of ours, one of our answers up on the top. Now let's do it again. Second trace. I want to choose 5. I'm going to go over to the other curve or the other intersection. Almost there. Oh, maybe I'm not pushing it. So now I have it pretty close. I hit enter slowly 3 times, and it gives me my other intersection, which is 1, comma 0. So we found our intercepts. That was a little bit easier than using the swing method. It's definitely easier than using quadratic or completing the square. Let's go to the next part. It says compare your x-intercepts to the solutions. What can you conclude? Well, in our top one, we said x was negative 6 and 1. Well, our x-intercepts were also negative 6 and 1. So they are the same. So our x-intercepts and our solutions were the same. So our x-intercepts can sometimes be called the solutions, or sometimes people call them the zeros. So now we can basically find the answers to all our quadratics or the solutions by using our calculator. All right, guys, let's go ahead and go to the next page. Now, this is going to kind of pull together everything we did in the last 2 days. We're going to graph the quadratic. We're going to find its x-intercepts or the zeros like we just found them. We're going to find the solutions from those. We're going to find the factors. We're also going to find the vertex and the y values for the in the table. And then we're going to sketch it. So the first thing we have to do, of course, is get out our calculator. We're going to have to enter all our information into the calculator. So y equals, I'm going to clear out the top one. My new equation is x squared minus 8x plus 15. X squared minus 8x plus 15. So I've got my 0 and y2 as well. So let's go ahead and look at the graph. Now the first thing we want to do is find the x-intercepts. Let me move this over just a little. So I'm going to hit second trace, and I'm going to go to intersect, which is 5, and I'm going to move my cursor, and sometimes you can't see it, so you have to move it around a little bit. There it is. I'm going to move it to my first intersection. I'm going to enter slowly 3 times. And when I do that, I see my x value is 3, my y value is 0. So 3, 0 is one of my x-intercepts. Now let's do the same thing with the other side. Second trace, 5. I'm going to go over to the right to my other intersection. I'm going to enter 3 times. And it says my other intersection is at 5, 0. 5, 0. So that's really not very tough, guys. You just push the buttons. It's the same thing over and over again. Now the solutions. We saw last time that our solutions, their x values were the same as the x-intercepts. So now I might know my solutions are x equals 3 and 5. Now I want to write something out here just so you know, because now it's asking for the factors. It's asking us to go back to something like this, where I have x here and x there. Well, if we got x equals 3 for an answer, we know we probably moved that from the other side. To move it back, I'd subtract 3 from both sides and get x minus 3 equals 0. Now that kind of looks like what we did to solve our very first problem of the day, because this is one of the factors. So x minus 3. So basically what you do is you throw your variable in your parentheses, and then you take your x value, you change the sign and put it in there with it. So in the other one, if one of our solutions was 5, one of our factors is x minus 5. So now we have those factors that we worked so hard on the other chapter to find. Now we can go ahead and find our vertex. We'll do it just like we did yesterday. We're going to get out our calculators. We should have our graph. Now I've got to decide maximum or minimum. Well, I have a minimum value because I can see how low it goes. Oops, it went away. So I'm going to go second trace right back into that same one, and I'm going to pick 3 for a minimum. I'm going to go to the left of my vertex and hit enter. I'm going to move to the right of my vertex and hit enter, and then hit enter one more time, and it should give me my vertex. It looks like my vertex is 0.4, -1. So 4, -1. Now I know it said 4.0000, but sometimes our calculators round differently, okay? Now from our vertex, we should be able to get our axis of symmetry. Remember, the axis of symmetry goes through the vertex, so I'm just going to put x equals the x value from our vertex. We got a couple more things to do. Let me look at my calculator again. I have to fill out this table now. I need the y values when x is 1 and 8, so I'm going to go to the table by hitting second graph. If I go down to 1, I find out that the solution to 1 for y is 8. And then I need to go down to 8, and I see my solution is 15. So now that I've filled out my table, I've got my x-intercepts, I have my vertex, I can graph my parabola. So I'm going to graph the vertex first. Let's see, over 1, 2, 3, 4, down -1. There's my vertex. Now the best thing to plot once you do this are your x-intercepts. So I have one at over 3, up 0, and I have another one at over 5, up 0. Now I have enough points. Sorry, I guess I'm not calibrated very well. I can complete my parabola. And there's your sketch. Remember that line of symmetry was right down through the vertex. So what we did today is pretty easy. You have to remember how to find the vertex, and you have to remember how the vertex and axis of symmetry are related, because once you find one, you've also found pieces to the other. All right, now let's try a few of these just real quick. All we're going to do on each is it says solve each quadratic equation on the calculator. So I need to find my x-intercepts. So I'm going to write up here under solve x-intercepts. When it asks you to solve a quadratic, it's x-intercepts. Now to make sure that we do this right though, we have to be able to put it in the calculator. It has to be an ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0 form. If it's not, we have to put it that way. So let's look at number 4. It's already in the position we need, so we can just put it right into our calculator. So I have y equals, oops, keep doing that. I need to clear out the equation I had in there. I can keep that 0. I'm going to put in 9x squared plus 12x minus 1. I'm going to double check to make sure I put it in right. I'm going to hit graph. Now, I need to find my solutions or my x-intercepts. So I'm going to go down to second trace and hit 5. Move over to one of them. And it doesn't matter which one you do first. I hit enter slowly 3 times, and it gives me my intersection. Now, we've been pretty lucky up to this point because we've had whole numbers. Now, we've got some fractions, but we can write those answers anyway. Let's round to the nearest tenth. Negative 1.412 be negative 1.4. And then it's going to be 0. Let's do the other one. I'm going to go second trace again, go down to 5 or hit 5. I'm going to go over to my other intersection. I'm going to hit enter 3 times. This one's also a frac or a decimal. It looks like I got 0.078. Well, since it's down that far, I want to at least get one significant digit. So I'm going to round that to 0.08. But I'm not going to kill you on rounding, comma 0. So there's your solutions, no big deal. Now if it asks us for the factors, remember that would be x plus 1.4 and x plus 0.08. Now it didn't ask us for that, but remember if it asks you for factors, you just take your x value and you switch it. That should be x minus -8, by the way, or it should be x minus 0.08. Let's go to number 5. Now this one is not in the order we want. I need all of it to be on the same side, so I'm going to subtract 2 from both sides. Now I have 7x squared plus 2x minus 2 equals 0. Now I can go ahead and throw it in my calculator. So I'm going to clear out in y equals the equation I had. Oops. I'm going to put in my new one. I have 7x squared plus 2x minus 2. And I have my 0 in my y2. Now I can look at my graph and we can find the intersections. So second trace, I'm going to go down to 5, move over to one of them, hit enter 3 times. Looks like I have negative 0.696. I'm going to change that to negative 0.7, comma 0. Now we go and we find the other one. Second trace, 5, move over to the other one, enter, enter, enter. And again, my other one is 0.41, so I'm going to keep that 0.40. So this is pretty quick and easy, guys. There shouldn't be a whole lot of problem here. We've got number 6. Again, it's not set up correctly in the right form. I'm going to have to add 9x to both sides. So I get 6x squared plus 9x plus 7 equals 0. So I want you to go ahead and put that in your calculator. Go to y equals, clear out my other one. I have 6x squared plus 9x plus 7. Double check, looks good. I go to second trace, but let's see, if I hit 5, I can't really get it close to anything because it doesn't cross the x-intercept or it doesn't cross the x-axis. So if that happens, the answer is none. This was like when we got no real solutions when we did this by hand. If it doesn't cross the x-axis, there are no solutions. All right, guys, let's go to the next one. Again, this isn't all on the same side. I like to keep my x squared positive, so I'm going to subtract 10x and add 5 to both sides. So now I have 4x squared minus 10x plus 5 equals 0. So I can go ahead and open up my solutions if I have them. Let's throw this one in our calculator. Move it over here. Go to y equals, clear out your other equation. I have 4x squared minus 10x plus 5. I have my 0 and y2. There's my graph. I do have x-intercepts, so this one should work. I go to second trace, number 5. I get close to the first one, hit enter 3 times. It's very repetitious. I got 0.69, so I'm going to change that to, oops, wrong pin here, 0.7. Let's go find the other one real quick. Second trace, 5, move over to the other one, hit enter 3 times, and I get 1.80, so I'm changing that to 1.8. So guys, that's not very tough, but I want you to remember what we did up here, finding those factors. Like number 6 would have no factors, but like number 7, if I wanted to know the factors, I'd have x minus 0.7 times x minus 1.8. You just throw them in your factors and change the signs, okay? Now the last one, it's not the same as the other ones because this is what we're going to have to do on the quiz tomorrow first. We're going to have to find the vertex and the axis of symmetry algebraically. And it says right there, you must show your work. So first, let's find the axis of symmetry. I know that's x equals negative b over 2a. Well, my equation's in the right order, so I can pull out b and a. I'm going to have negative times my v value of negative 4 divided by 2 times a, which is negative 2. Well, a negative times a negative is a positive, so I get positive 4. 2 times negative 2 is negative 4, and I get negative 1. So my axis of symmetry is x equals negative 1. That's the axis of symmetry. Now to find the vertex, I use the axis of symmetries for the x value, and I plug it in to solve for y. So I have y equals negative 2 times negative 1 squared minus 4 times negative 1 minus 7. Now that's pretty much straight in your calculator. If you put it in exactly how it's written, you'll get the right answer, which should be negative 5. So my vertex is negative 1, negative 5. You'll have to do that stuff tomorrow. You'll have to be able to plot it. You'll have to be able to find another point as well so you can reflect it across that axis of symmetry. So guys, this is heavy calculator stuff. The things you have to do algebraically are very formulaic. If you have questions, you've got to ask because we have a quiz on Thursday. So good luck.